I don't know if y'all have picked up on this, but Fortnite has been getting a lot more mature lately. And quite frankly, I think it's about time. As someone who's played since Chapter 1, Season 1, this is something that's very refreshing for me because I feel like Fortnite's kind of getting back to its roots. Like, it's getting back to where it's supposed to be. I've been saying this for years. I even made a video on this very topic that Fortnite is actually made for adults. The foundation of this game, the fundamentals, the culture that was set, the precedent that was established in the early days of Fortnite was originally created by grown-ass people. And then somewhere in Chapter 2, it kind of flipped. And there's a few different reasons for that, right? Like, one, the content kind of changed. Everybody started doing the fashion shows and the gimmicky kind of content, and they had to, right? That came out of necessity because there wasn't much content to be made. There was nothing that was being added to the game for almost 4 months. But also that's when Fortnite started focusing on collabs more. Now, we've always had mature IPs, and quite frankly, I think one of the greatest signs that Fortnite's had an adult audience is by the types of IPs that we've been given over the years. Like, we've had stuff like Terminator, Alien, Predator, Rick and Morty, Family Guy. Like, those are IPs that although kids might know what they are and sometimes even watch them, that's not the target demographic. Children are not the target demographic for something like Rick and Morty. But when I'm looking at Chapter 7 and the overall presentation of the game, it feels like this big refresh, this big rebrand for Fortnite that's going on right now for them to kind of age up their game and age up their audience. We all know that Fortnite's trying to recapture a lot of the old audience. That's why there's a big emphasis on the storyline. That's why they're doing this stuff with OG. Like, there's a lot of things that have been done to kind of bring the older players back. And even if you were someone, let's say, that was 12 years old when Fortnite first came out, you're 20 years old now. So to get back those older players, even off the sense of nostalgia, is them trying to cater to an older audience. But then I think that how Chapter 7 was rolled out, how everything was marketed, how people were getting excited about this new upcoming season or this new upcoming chapter of Fortnite. There were so many mature IPs and concepts that were just thrown out there for people to get a hold of. For example, the big premiere that they had out in California with a lot of content creators and celebrities showing up. It's a scene that Quentin Tarantino originally had for Kill Bill, which, first of all, if you know anything about Kill Bill, that movie is not family friendly. Now, I personally never watched it, but I've seen clips and I've heard about it. Kill Bill is not for kids. Also, Quentin Tarantino, his reputation in Hollywood and the types of movies that he produces are beyond family friendly. Nick A30 would never watch a Quentin Tarantino movie, at least openly admitting to watching a Quentin Tarantino movie. If you've seen anything like Django Unchained or The Hateful Eight, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. And listen, I love me a good Quentin Tarantino film. He's made some fantastic content, but I never would have thought that he would have collaborated with Fortnite. Now, I just watched Yuki's Revenge for the first time, and like I said, I have no context to Kill Bill or like the plot of that movie, but I will say after seeing this little Fortnite mini movie, I am actually shocked that Epic went that far with something. Not just in terms of producing something that Quentin Tarantino made, but also just how edgy that was, how not necessarily dark it got towards the end, but just the amount of cursing that we saw in that production. I think there's something to be said not only for how mature that project was, but also the future of Fortnite and what it could mean for other projects, like other movie directors that have had projects that they've never been able to release before. It opens up the door for so many other directors and so many other more mature projects to come to Fortnite just based upon this one alone. Like, this is kind of the prototype for something I think could potentially be bigger, but that deserves a video all in of itself. The point I'm trying to get out here is Fortnite is really playing with our expectations. Like, the things that we expect from this game and the stigma that's been surrounding it for the last few years, I really do think that they're trying to abolish it. Like, I think that they've noticed a change in how people perceive their game, and they're trying to transform that. And that's the thing, man. Like, looking at the collabs that we get inside of Fortnite is one of the best ways to tell how mature the game is trying to get, but it's just the execution of them and the way that just the way that they're being done right now is a clear sign that Epic is trying to make such a big effort into making Fortnite feel like a more mature IP. Another sign of this was them adding Kim Kardashian into Fortnite. Now, let me make this clear. I'm not here to talk about Kim Kardashian's past or the type of person that she was. However, the person that she's evolved into is definitely a far cry from the woman that I was first introduced to when I was a teenager and everybody was talking about her for those reasons. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and red pill you and try to shame somebody about their past and the things that they've done, right? It's Hollywood. Everybody in that space has been into some wild crap at one point in time. But the point is, in spite of Kim Kardashian's past, the fact that they gave her a Fortnite icon skin, and even just like the way it's presented, it's definitely leaning on more mature themes. Heck, even the themes of this chapter feel more mature when it comes to some of the storytelling. One of the funniest things I saw had to do with Fortnite's bus driver getting blown up. up. Like, we all saw that at the beginning of chapter 7, right, in the little teaser trailer. But a couple of weeks later, there was actually a tweet on the official Fortnite Twitter page where there was the bus driver texting somebody, and he said, "I lived, bitch." Like, that's wild. And once again, it kind of goes back to that Yuki's Revenge thing, how they're not afraid to experiment with a little bit more spicy language right now. And honestly, has me wondering, like, how far is Epic going to take this year? Like, when it comes to the Fortnite storyline, is there going to be like more mature themes represented all throughout the chapter? And I think there's a good chance that it might be. Honestly, Fortnite has the potential to tell one of their darkest stories ever by bringing back some of these old members of the Seven. And that's the thing, I don't think it's a mistake that we're getting the Seven back during this time when Fortnite is going more mature. I think it's a strategic move. And here's the thing, adults love good storytelling too. That's not exclusive to children, right? But if they're going back to really good storytelling, then that's going to keep the older fan base more invested as well. I'm not saying that your average 20-something-year-old is going to become a Fortnite theorist. However, I do think that older people are looking to engage with Fortnite in a meaningful way. And one of the best ways you can do that is by telling a solid story. And if the story is easy to follow this chapter, and they're also throwing in good like little hints and teasers and these little Easter eggs on Twitter like they have been, like they're kind of going back to that mustard era storytelling where like there's little tiny bits of context giving over tweets, kind of like I said with the bus driver thing, right? Like that was something that was neat that they did. It was a goofy thing, but still it in some ways kind of has lore significance. The point is they're making a more solid effort to tell a more cohesive story through multiple mediums, and that's what makes the synergy between all the different storytelling aspects so much more profound. The last thing I'll point out is this, and this is kind of more of a personal note that I've seen over the last few months. When it comes to my content and the type of people that I'm seeing comment on my videos, I've noticed there's a lot more late 20-somethings to early 30-somethings leaving feedback on my videos. I first noticed it with like a couple of the promos that I did. Like normally when I do Fortnite promos, it's a lot of negative comments. You can tell like, this is some 12-year-old using his mother's phone, trying to spam terrible messages in the comment section, just dumb crap. But when chapter 7 hit, I noticed a huge shift in the types of comments that I was getting. It felt like people were more engaged with what I had to say, even if it was a promo. And here's the thing, when it comes to my promos, I try to make them just as authentic as my normal content. Like it is my normal content, right? It's just that there's a certain aspect of Fortnite that I'm trying to raise awareness for. But even outside of the promo, like when I did the Kim Kardashian skit, right? Obviously, a piece of content like that will attract a different type of audience. Like it's gonna draw attention to people that are into Kim Kardashian that aren't normally in the Fortnite space, but that's kind of the point, and it kind of loops this whole thing back together. Fortnite is trying to attract a new audience of more mature people. The only question I have is, are the content creators going to follow suit? Are some of the biggest Fortnite content creators going to start maturing up their content and get us out of the stigma of Fortnite as a kid's game? Because if I'm being real, that's probably one of the biggest things that's held Fortnite back, is the type of content that is so often viewed in this space. You don't look at Fortnite content and be like, yep, yeah, your average adult is going to be so invested in that next fashion show video. You know what? That's such a good topic. I think I'm actually going to make that my next video, because if I'm being honest with you guys, I hate watching Fortnite content, and it's about time that I talk about that in full detail.